You're working your butt off and busy enough to be exhausted, but somehow your bank account isn't getting the memo. If that sounds familiar, you're not broken, you're just pulling the wrong levers. Today, we're showing you the four drivers that actually move the needle. And trust me, you'll want to stick around because we got some great announcements as we're going to be starting year 6 of this podcast. This is the Contractor Success Forum. I'm Wade Carpenter with Carpenter Company CPAs, alongside Stephen Brown with McDaniel Whitley, Bonding and Insurance. And Stephen, as we start our last episode of year 5 and move into year 6, I just wanted to start off by saying it has been an absolute honor to do this podcast with you over the last 5 years.
Thank you, Wade. I feel the same way.
Today, I think we were just going to talk about some of the concepts we've talked about before, but in a slightly different way. The 4 different ways to grow a construction company, because construction companies are a little different. But you got any thoughts to kick us off?
Yeah, I love today's broadcast idea because just like you use an extra long lever to get leverage when you're trying to move something. The longer it is, the more effective you can move it. All these principles of levers, I was thinking about how interest can be compounded. All the little things that you tweak that seem so simple, but that our listeners don't know about. It's amazing what they do to your bottom line.
We've done some other episodes where we've talked about segmenting your jobs and throughput and all this stuff, but this takes it a lot higher level. And from the top level, I just want to talk about some of that today, because if you're looking to grow your company, there are 4 ways to do it. We'll get into it, but most people think that the only way to do it is like, let me just do more work. Let me get bigger projects, those kind of things. Let me just start off by showing this model a little bit, because there are different things. Let's just say we got a $3 million contractor kicking off and they net $600,000 of profit a year. The business is starting off like they could sell it for, say, $1.8 million. So if we're trying to move the needle, as an oversimplification, we can do one of 4 different things. And obviously, we could just do more work, just work harder. And that's what so many people start thinking. If we added 20 more jobs, we doubled the number of jobs, in this case, it would be a $1.53 million increase in the business value multiple, like an 85%. I'm playing with numbers here. The first way that I want to talk about was like winning better jobs. And winning better jobs, I mean, I don't know what that means to you. Do you have any thoughts on what winning better jobs means?
Well, it means right here doing the project that's going to not only make you the most profit, but bring you and your workers the most pleasure.
Yeah, and sometimes we're doing more, and I've had 2 or 3 different conversations in the last week talking to people. It just seems like we're doing more work, but taking home less and working harder, longer hours. Winning better jobs can turn faster. We've done episodes on the throughput and things like that. But as we said, winning better job, maybe we could do some that are just maybe not even working on the price, but working on better jobs that maybe we could upsell or change orders or whatever, but turning more of it. 8 more jobs, that translates to an additional $780,000 of top line revenue. And the bottom line revenue, assuming our gross profit doesn't change, would be 44% increase. And that's sort of moving some of the levers too together. But, what is a better job? And it's not always let's do more higher price jobs, because we've also seen these higher price jobs. They may be covering some overhead, but we're making less margin. And I've seen contractors spiraling and not understanding why. You ever see that?
I sure do. And it's so frustrating because, first of all, you're already committed to it and it's bigger, and then it's taking up all your resources, and it's just not playing out quite the way you expected it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if we just reset the thing, and obviously this is what I was talking about, we can increase the price of the contract value. And assuming our gross margin does not change, that total revenue, I know I keep playing with numbers here, but if we increase the average value of our contract, it does increase the bottom line. But we also have to think about, what does it do to our overhead? If we can just pull that one lever and increase that and our margin doesn't change, and we can still do the same number of contracts, then it does translate. So in this example I've got here, and again, we're just playing with numbers, but it's just math. Adding $15,000 to the average contract value in this case It's a 20% increase. That again translates to a bottom line increase of 34%. That's $200,000 more on the bottom line.
Right.
I know I use the analogy in my book from the movie Jaws. Like everybody wants a bigger boat. It's not always about the bigger boat. What is it that we can do to also increase the bottom line? As we said, we can improve our margin, and there are ways we can do that. Obviously, that's what people are chasing. Let's keep the cost down and really tracking our job costing. I'm sure you've got some opinions about getting good job costing. I don't know if you wanted to chime in on that part of it.
Your job costing affects all these numbers. I was just thinking as you were showing me your latest teaching engine, I guess we should call it, that's interactive. All the job costs have to be tracked perfectly. Everything ties in when you slide that number of contracts and average contract value over and you see how the numbers explode. In real time, are you calculating all the other things that go with that growth? Your job cost systems in place and also number of extra employees you have to hire, the degree of sophistication of employees you need to hire, not to mention the equipment you'll need, the materials, the resources. And are you really calculating your overhead right as your business grows?
Yeah.
As a percentage, can you take whatever percentage it is now and double your sales and double your overhead and expect that to be accurate?
Yeah, and we're going to get into overhead a little bit too, because that's a major headache for a lot of contractors and they don't know how to figure it. If we're just working on improving the margin here, if we can just top line say, okay, well, we can improve the margin by 3%. In this case, that doesn't change the top line. But as you can see, that's a $90,000 increase in the bottom line by just adding 3% increase in the gross profitability. We can obviously play with that number and let's just say we increase it 7%. I mean, that's a big jump, but how do we get there? We talk about being efficient and all that stuff, but if we are just thinking about how can I move the needle on the margin, well, it's not always cut and dry. And you really have to dig into some of the major drivers of that. Most people pick up more profit on their own in-house labor. Sometimes they don't also think about like, okay, I'm keeping extra people on, especially during the slow season. Would we make more money by subcontracting that out? Obviously, you lose some control, but where I'm going with this is there are different ways, different types of contracts. So you may be doing one that's, I don't know, a retail center versus doing churches versus commercial build out. They've got different mixes of what goes into that. Some of them may have more in equipment. Some of them may have more on we did that recent episode on buying versus leasing the equipment. So hopefully this is making sense.
It is. At first, I didn't realize you had a drop down menu. Of course, you did that differentiated everything. But I love it because you could take every element of this business engine that you created and you can plug it in. You can look at, for example, say you're figuring out lumber, you can look at how much lumber you're going to need to do the project and what the prices are currently and what they're projected to be. You can get those economic numbers and plug that factor in and be pretty accurate. I love how you can tweak all these numbers and we can look at the bottom line. You remember in one podcast, you were just tweaking a number on cash flow, just talking about days collecting your money. And you were increasing it by 3 days and just showing the difference in the bottom line. That got my attention.
Yeah, and those are different drivers of yes, you can work on the top line here, but that goes into the mix of the jobs too, because you may have some that on paper are more profitable. They may be more profitable, but they still take 75 days to pay you. And, a retainage clause that you're not going to get for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to take those things into account. And this is more high level today, but that's some great points there, Seal. So we can see different mixes of the materials or whatever. And depending on what drivers, I did another episode where we talk about segmenting your jobs. Just from a top level today, I just want to talk about if you're working on your margin. We've improved our margin by, say, 7% here by tweaking little things here to get to that 7%. We talked about the equipment and are we doing it in house? And they don't think about the insurance costs and cost of the mechanic and the fuel. I mean, you get the fuel either way, I guess, but maintaining it and what happens if it breaks down versus, okay, we can go pick another one off the rental yard and we don't have to worry about the cash flow effect of that in the slow season. So again, we're just high level today. We're just talking about the mix on the margin. The next one is what you were talking about. Let me just sort of strengthen this up a little bit so everybody can see. You were talking about the overhead. And the thing about overhead that comes out is if you save $1 of overhead, that's $1 that translates to the bottom line, right? A 5% reduction in our overhead would be $21,000 in this case. It translates to a $21,000 decrease in overhead. Actually, I went the wrong way with that. But if we were decreasing our overhead by $29,000, that's direct
Net income.
net income, right? But it didn't do anything to our revenue, but it really didn't do anything to our gross profitability either. One of the hidden killers of a lot of contractors is not taming that overhead. And as we grow, that percentage of overhead tends to grow at a faster rate. And I've said that 1,000 times on this podcast. That's where something like Profit First really makes a lot of sense, where we can put some guardrails around that overhead and know what it is, what it's costing in cash. So the fourth driver, again, as we said, this is working on the operating efficiency and that where we're working on just things like the overhead. With that said, to improve your business, sometimes it's not all about, we can't just magically wave our magic wand and everything fall into place, but we can make some small improvements. That's where it gets powerful when we can actually start doing small things to combine it. And let's just say we got a few more contracts a year. We worked on our lead pipeline, we bidding the right jobs, and the contract value went up. That's not always the right way to do it. You remember when we also had that episode, we talked about raising prices and lowering prices, and some revelations there.
It was amazing what happened with the logic of lowering prices to increase revenue to your bottom line. That was sobering.
As long as you're looking at top level, I mean, you're at 70% gross margin and you reduce your prices across the board by 10%, it would take 50% more customers to actually make the same level of profitability. That's sobering versus in the example I gave in that episode, that was a 30% gross margin. If you added 10%, everybody says, I'm not going to get another contract. I'm going to lose all my customers. It's math. It doesn't matter if it's $3 million or $300,000 contractor. Now you could afford to lose a quarter of your customers and still make the same amount of money, work less hard. So this is part of what I want to talk about. And then the business value multiple, if we can get all these things tweaked up. I know we got a special episode coming out tomorrow being our 5th year anniversary with Rob Williams, and he's talking about exiting your business and getting that value up. When we can dial these things in, maybe we got our systems in place, maybe we can work on that value multiple. And so we can raise the selling price of your business.
I love your business valuation at the end there, because every contractor starts off saying, okay, I've got to sacrifice to build something. I've got to sacrifice to build my company, sacrifice everything. My time, my energy, my family, everything to grow that business is everything. And then the business will take care of me forever. And the right mindset is plan ahead the right way. You don't have to give away everything to have a successful business. Think about how to run it more efficiently, how to work smarter, not harder, and think about the value of your business, because you're not just making a business to give you an income to support you and your family, but also you're using that business to give you income in your retirement as well, and to grow something that's easy to pass on to others. That's really rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're all looking to grow in one way or another, especially if you're looking to exit. And ultimately, we're all trying to build security for ourselves and our family. I know this is sort of high level today. I don't know if you had any takeaways from that, but
No, I love it, Wade. And I love these teaching tools that you have. Look at how one area affects all the other areas, and you plug that in, then your decision making process is logical and it makes sense, and the risk is minimized. Just go out and just decide this is what I'm going to do, or this is what someone else told me I needed to do. without knowing exactly why you need to do it and how you're going to need to do it, that just causes you stress and it almost never works out the way you wanted it to.
Yeah. Well, as we're coming to closing our 5th year and starting year 6, I think it's actually was fitting yesterday. I had my client that went back with my dad. He was 90 years old. He was in my office yesterday. And my father is also 90 years old. So I had him come over and see him, and he hadn't seen him in years and years. And it's like, I'm hoping that me and you can say, keep going through the next 90, I don't know, we got 90 more years, but the next 5 years and 10 years, and I don't know how long we're going to be able to do this, but I've truly enjoyed doing this with you.
I have too, Wade. My first thought is you'd have to be a masochist to want to listen to us when we're 90 years old, but who knows what we'll have learned by then. And maybe we'll have gotten better at communicating to our listeners, our new listeners, our existing subscribers, these points that are so universal that keep coming back over and over again, and how to run your construction company the right way. I hope that our podcast is a blessing to our listeners as it has been to me these past 5 years, going on 6. And just talking to Rob about how he's evolved and what he's doing now in his business practices. And also, what our listeners don't know about Wade and I sharing existing customers and going through the trials and tribulations of getting them where they need to be. It's just been a lot of fun. And it's great when everybody's pulling with the same set of oars. And I don't know if I told you, Wade, but I was thinking about getting a Tesla. So I'm just doing a deep dive into that in every possible way and talking to people I really respect that have them. The people I know that are not going to approve of the idea, I'm just not really consulting about it at all because they don't know anything about it. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be pushing the edge of the envelope in technology for driving. I'm going to be pushing the edge of the envelope in tools. We talk about AI. We talk about every new software program, everything that our listeners need to know about. That's just the way we are. And I guess that's why we're also friends, Wade, because when we dive into something, we just go to such a geeky level. And I'm sure that's going to drive our listeners crazy, but I hope they get something good out of it. And most contractors are kind of like us, they do the same thing. So who knows? Maybe that works.
Well, again, this has been a fun ride. There were some announcements I wanted to make too. My book came out last year, and it's been a journey, but we've got the audiobook in final production. I was hoping to be able to actually give a release date from Amazon today, but the final post-production and getting it through Amazon, I always said that contractors want to listen to it in their truck. And with the different characters and all that stuff, we've actually got it recorded. It's being edited right now. And hopefully within the next 30 days, I'll definitely be able to announce a real date for that.
Do you have real Hollywood actors and actresses reading the parts or AI actresses and actors?
You have me. Actually, Mike McAllowitz voiced his own foreword, and he wrote the foreword for me, and then he recorded that whole thing. And so I really appreciate him doing that.
But do you change your voices when you do the characters?
No, we got different voices. I didn't do the other voices.
I knew
You,
you didn't. I'm just messing with you. That's fun. I can't wait to hear it. And what a great way you're driving around in between jobs. You're heading out in the morning to get this book that you should be reading that nobody likes to read anymore and listen to it. I love it. Sometimes I'll get a book and it's so good and I delve into it so deeply that it takes me too long to read it. And then it's on my nightstand with the page marked to where I left off. And a lot of times I'll say, well, I really need this information and I'll get the audiobook too. I'll get all the key concepts while I'm driving and then I go back and read the book again. It sinks in so much more. And your book, Wade, is entertaining. It's got a great plot. Okay. So I can't wait to hear it.
well, thank you for that. I actually got somebody reached out because we were still giving away the first 2 chapters of it. So if you want to go profitfirstconstruction.com, but he read the first 2 chapters and reached out to me and said he's just now becoming a client, and I think he's going to be a great client. But there are some things I did want to also throw in there too. We've had the Profit First Construction community we kicked off for free, and we actually are moving that into a paid platform because with the book, I've had people asking me, can you just do consulting for me? you're not my CFO. And so I've developed a whole coaching platform around that and the group coaching. So we are spinning that kind of stuff up, as well as the big thing that I wanted to announce with that is part of the community is going to include these calculators that I'm building, as well as I've built 200 more of these calculators that are more geared towards different ways to look at construction and great things like how to calculate the concrete needed on a driveway pour and stuff like that. I've got over 200 of those already built. It's not about calculators. It's more about like, let's create a community that can, number one, benefit from it, but also learn the profit first principles, apply them to their business, and have a community of people with like minds that want to improve their business. So that's my goal with it.
I think that's great. And if you are also helping with the books, you can prove to them that the calculators are working, right?
Yeah, there are some things that we show in the book that make the whole calculators, as well as some of the offers that we're going to be throwing in there to help people implement this. I truly believe in the system. I've seen it work. I do it in my own business, and it is game changing for me. I didn't mean to devolve too much, but
No, I'm glad you did. And how do our listeners start?
well, we're going to have some offers up there at firstconstruction.com. And we'll put some stuff in the show notes as well. I'm not trying to do a commercial or anything here. I'm just really excited about and we've had so many people that just, I need help with this. And so I finally caved in and said, okay, we can definitely do this. And I think some of the ways that I'm doing this are pretty innovative in teaching this, even adapting from even what I wrote the book about a year ago. With all that, I know I'm sort of getting long on this episode. You've been listening to us for 5 years. We'd really appreciate it if you haven't subscribed, if you do so. If you like it and share it with other people, we truly appreciate it. Stephen, I think both of our goals, and it's like, let's get some great educational content out there. And I think we're bringing it to them. I hope they feel that same way.
I do too. And listener subscribers, if we're missing the mark, we love your feedback, but it's not hurt our feelings. We want to just be more effective in how we get our points across. And also that we're bringing what you're interested in hearing and need to hear. Sometimes we don't care whether you're interested or not. We are, and we know you need to hear it. So we're going to put it out there. Thank you, listeners. And thank you, Wade, for everything you're doing. Just getting on your website, sharing your email address, so at least you can communicate back to them what's going on and what you're offering to do.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for 5 years. Looking forward to another 5 and then some. Appreciate all of our listeners. I know there's some of them that I know have listened to us all 5 years, and it's really rewarding to get some of that feedback. And so we hope you're one of them. And if you haven't, we'd love for you to reach out as we wrap up this one. We haven't missed a week in 5 full years, and we're not going to miss next week either. So look forward to seeing you on the next show.